Hey there, this is JG, and it's alive! The Helicath Swing team that I made a video about a little while ago, I actually built it today. So last time it was just a presentation, I'd sort of theory crafted a nice Helicath build. Today it's actually real. The CBC tournament today had 2x points for gear upgrades, so I spent just about every last piece of silver I had building the gear for all the champs in this one, and so now I have a new team that covers Iron Twins 15, Clan Boss Ultra Nightmare, Clan Boss Nightmare, in all 4 affinities for all 3 of those. 9 champions total across those 3. The hardest ones, Iron Twins and Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss, are full auto, which is a nice step up for my Clan Boss team. There's a little bit of manual on the Nightmare Clan Boss. So I just wanted to show this off today, show how I actually built it. So the point of this build that I was going for is kind of champion efficiency. The idea here, I would consider myself kind of an early late game player. So I can clear a lot of the hard content. I can take down Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss and Nightmare Clan Boss. I can do Iron Twins 15. As of this month, I can clear normal Doom Tower on all the difficulties. And I'm at level 20 plus in all the dungeons that I can farm at a pretty high speed. So I can clear a lot of the high-end content. But that said, I'm not exactly swimming in great champions and great gear. And so when I do have great champions, I really need them to do a lot for me. I need them to work in more than one team. So that's why I made this comp that lets you reuse Helicath, who's a great champion, across multiple teams here. And it also makes him viable in other content. So that's really what I'm aiming for on all of these, that wherever possible, great champions are not just usable in this speed tune, but they've got a build on them that is usable in other content. Let me show off this build, and then I'll show you all 3 of these runs on fast forward, because I know 3 runs in one video is quite a lot. Let's dive in. So first up here is Helicath. He is in all 3 of these teams. He's an essential. So there's a couple pieces to this build. So in Iron Twins, and for the speed tunes, he needs to be at about 247 to 248 speed, or to 249. So pretty tight speed range there. And in Iron Twins, you kind of want him not doing damage. In Iron Twins, you want to go for passive damage for all the damage that you're dealing, so that you don't trigger that retaliation at a place when you're not ready for it. Unfortunately, that's not a great build for Helicath for other content. So this is one place where I prioritized Helicath for other content. So I have him crit capped almost. I managed, in addition to this, speed, 4,200 defense, 113% crit dam, and 260 accuracy. That's a little higher than I was really aiming for. 230 is sort of the target that I use for Clan Boss. Also, it's a very reasonable question whether you want to build accuracy on your Helicath. It only matters for his A1 skill, but that A1 skill, he uses it a lot because he uses that counterattack when people hit a teammate that has block damage on, and it places a good debuff. So I've decided I do want accuracy on my Helicath. I think that's a thing that you could compromise on depending on where else you want to use him. In this case, I'm fortunate enough I got him to a 2nd Star of Awakening, so he's got the bonus HP from that. He's got Brimstone, which is ideal for all the different teams that I have him in. So, and then mastery-wise, I have War Master on him in kind of a classic sort of support and offensive build here. So, what he's used for, he's fast in this version. War Master is good for a lot of the other boss content that he might be facing, and for Clan Boss. For other content, he's fast. He's got pretty good defense. I could do a little better if I compromised on some of the rest of these, but pretty good defense, which fuels both his damage and his shield. Pretty good crit rate, crit damage. So this makes him really useful to me. He is in my arena team. He's in Clan Boss, and I use him in a lot of Doom Tower, wave content, a lot of different bosses. So this is a great Helicath build, kind of an all-rounder build that I'm able to get a lot of use out of him. Next up, Drexthar Blood Twin. So he's another important part of this composition. in this particular Iron Twins build, we do need to be able to place some debuffs on Iron Twins. The really essential one is that speed down that stops him from filling his turn meter. So that means we need several champions, or at least the one champion at, I calculated at about 550 accuracy is sort of my make or break point, but for the really essential speed down, I got him to 600 plus accuracy. That is far higher than I've ever built a champion before. Drexthar helps a lot with that because he has this nice 70 accuracy aura. So he is the aura that we're using in this Iron Twins team that helps lighten the build on other folks. The way that I have Drexthar built, the way I basically had him built before was all for passive damage. So his masteries, I think I had to retool them a little bit just to make sure he didn't. I believe he had, what was it, Arcane Celerity before, which had a chance of boosting his turn meter, which can potentially throw this off in a speed tune for the Iron Twins. So I had to change that. But what I have him built for here is resistance. So I've got Unshakable here. So basically resistance and accuracy, not building him for any direct damage. And this is how I've used him in other content before, where his multipliers aren't great, so his direct damage potential is not fantastic. What he's really good at is just getting that passive burn out there. I believe he's in my Griffin team, where the strategy is basically Duchess brings everyone to life, then Griffin one-shots everyone, but in one-shotting Drexthar, she catches fire, and eventually I whittle her down. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done. So, unfortunately, in getting him up to the 500 accuracy range so that he can place this burn on Iron Twins, I had to sacrifice some on the resist. So I used to have him with significantly more resist. Now it's only 270, which does the job in some content, but not really in like higher end of Doom Tower or things like that. So that's a thing that I would improve on if I was able to shift it around a little. And the other thing I would love to get on him, he's on my list to buy a 1-star soul and get Brimstone on him. So Brimstone's really in keeping with being a passive damage build and lets him put out a lot of damage not on his turn. So he's really well suited to Iron Twins in this particular build. Speed-wise, he's a little bit slower, so for folks that I want to use in a lot of wave-based content or boss content, I usually want them moving at about 200 plus for where I am in the game. So 178 is a bit on the slow side, but it actually works pretty well here because it's all passive damage. Mostly he deals damage by getting hit, and so it's okay if he's slow. So this is still a build that's usable. You know, I've used him in Spider as a Spiderling, Spiderling bait to set them on fire, and like I said, some Doom Tower bosses where he can just crank out the passive damage. So especially if I get Brimstone on him, I think this is a great build that I can use him in other places as well. Third champion in here, so Duchess Lilitu, definitely one of the very best champions on my account, so I want to use her in a lot of places. As I said in my Clan Boss video, her skills are really wasted in Clan Boss, in an unkillable team where her revive skill never comes up. So she is not tuned for Clan Boss at all. So you see the masteries once again here. She's built for resist. She is built to be able to shake off debuffs and keep going so that she can bring the rest of the team back to life. That is what I have her built for, and that's where I primarily want to use her. But she's also the only person that I have that can do a 2-turn block debuffs, which is really important for my Clan Boss team. So she fills the role in the Clan Boss team, but this build is useful elsewhere. So number one, she's built fast. She's 250 speed. That's very fast for where I am in the game. My arena team, she's in my arena offense as well. It's sort of styled as a go second team, but at this speed and the level of arena that I'm in, which is usually low gold 5 or high gold 4, frequently gets to go first. And then again, trying to build for high resist. As with Drexthar, and trying to pump her speed up a little higher, I used to have a similar Clan Boss team where I used her aura, which is plus 19%, so plus another 19 speed or so on most of my champions. So getting that extra 19 speed, I used to have a resist set in here that I had to turn into a speed set to make this work with the gear that I have. But she used to be at significantly higher resist, so I'm sad that that's a little lower than it was before. But still, this build is pretty applicable to other content. She's built tanky, lots of HP, lots of defense, and speed, no crit rate. So obviously, if I was prioritizing Clan Boss, then I'd be going crit rate, crit damage, and War Master. but I want to use her elsewhere. So this is a build that is still pretty useful for a lot of my other content. She does a lot of work in Doom Tower and pretty much anywhere where my team isn't strong enough to make it through. She's got a bunch of immortal sets and is really tanky, and her A1 skill puts up a shield every time she uses it. So she's great at staying alive and bringing everyone else back to life. Next up is Geomancer. So I use Geomancer in both of the Clan Boss teams, but not in Iron Twins. He would put out some good Iron Twins damage, so he's a good DPS choice there, but this is a case of building him for Iron Twins would mean that I'm not building him for other content, and I really want him to be able to work in other content, because he's a great boss killer in a lot of different kinds of content. So the couple things that I didn't like about building it for Iron Twins is the DPS in this Iron Twins team. They're running at about 170 speed. Again, that's kind of slow. I want him running fast, so he's cycling his awesome A3 ability here, the Quicksand Grasp, that fuels his passive and all that passive damage. Number 2, to build him for a Iron Twins DPS, I need to throw 500 plus accuracy on him, which means I can't really pay attention to any other stats. So what I haven't built for here, a couple things. Number 1, I tried to build him tanky. He again is a passive damage machine, so I need enough accuracy to land Quicksand Grasp. So 250 is a nice accuracy target for the sorts of dungeons that I run in. I don't want a particular crit rate or crit damage on him. I know that his A2 can hit really hard, but that's really not what makes him shine. What you want is to keep him alive and putting out that A3 ability. I also have a stun set on him. So in Clan Boss, obviously that's not going to do anything, but in a lot of the dungeon boss content where he's good, things like maybe Ice Golem, or he might be in my Fire Knight team, things like that. The waves, he can add a good amount of control. He's got an AoE A1, and so with a stun set, he can help control the waves and get you through that part of the dungeon a little bit faster. So that's really what I prioritized here is, even though he's in an unkillable clan boss team, I want him tanky and fast, and that helps him shine in some of this other content. Next up, we have Urticata. She was one of the very first epics I pulled on my account, so I invested in her probably a little more than she deserves on a typical account, but she's done a lot of work for me. She is a great poisoner. She's been in my clan boss team since the very beginning, back on like easy and normal clan boss. She's got a lot of multi-hit skills, so I use her in Fire Knight and things. That said, these days she's only really good for clan boss. She's been outclassed by other champions I have elsewhere, so I don't really need to build her to be flexible. In some of my earlier teams, she's been my slow DPS in clan boss, because I don't mind her being slow for other content since she's not in other content. So the build here, the focus is she's got multi-hit skills and she places poison, so high accuracy to place her hex and poison sensitivity and poison. And then her speed target is pretty specific at 190, but then just as much attack, crit rate, crit damage as I can manage. She's pretty fragile in other content, but she's an unkillable team, so didn't pay any attention really to defense and HP. I also picked up a lucky 1-star for her and threw a Phantom Touch on her, which lets those multi-hit skills proc a little bit of bonus damage at various times. So if you don't know Urticata, the real way that she places her poison, she actually doesn't place any direct poison with her skills, but she has this passive. So she puts out a hex debuff, and then when anyone on the team lands a critical, it puts a 5% poison on them for 1 turn. So she's also fueled by other people on the team. In this particular team, we've got other multi-hitters. So Helicath has a 2-hit A1, Sandlashed Survivor has a 2-hit A1, Duchess has a 2-hit A1, and so a lot of the other hitters on the team are putting out a lot of crits that really fuel this. So once again, if I wanted to crit cap Duchess, that would add a little more damage here, or if I wanted to crit cap Geomancer, or put a different DPS that has a higher hit on their A1, that would produce a little more poison damage here, but ultimately that doesn't fulfill the other goals on my account, and this clan boss team is pretty effective without that. Demytha's up next, and the Demytha build is pretty easy. I tried really hard to get her to just level 50 for this one, and not have to get her all the way to 60. I tried it out this morning, so all she really needs here is to be booked, to have a specific speed target right around 170, and to survive. So in this particular Iron Twins build, the Iron Twins go first. And so you just need the whole team to be able to tank one hit from Iron Twins. And so what I tried first was just throwing her in some lackluster divine gear that I had sitting around. So she had a nice shield so she could tank that hit. And I tested it out. It worked great. She tanked that hit. But Kurzad and Frozen Banshee died right away. So it turns out in building them just for accuracy, they didn't have enough tankiness to survive. So instead, I built her with a shield set so she can help protect everyone else. And I ended up having to take her to level 60 to pump up the value of that. It was spotty at first. They were able to tank it sometimes, but then strong hits on Frozen Banshee when I tested it, because I was against Force in the morning today, or critical hits, which happen a fair amount against one of those two in the AoE hit, were breaking the comp. So basically just built Demytha for max HP with this shield set and the specific speed target. This is another one. She's not really built for other content here. For a healer that's pretty capable like she is, you'd want her moving faster than 171 if you could afford it. So with this build, she's in my dwarf faction team, but not a whole lot else. Honestly, I've got Helicath, I've got Maneater, I have some significantly better unkillable or block damage champions that I've been leaning on in other content. So when I first pulled her, I didn't think I was going to use her at all since I had those better champions, but this Demytha plus Helicath comp, gave me a reason to level her up. Sandlashed Survivor is next. So Sandlashed Survivor is another one that has some useful skills that I could use elsewhere. I don't use her in a lot of content, so mostly she's tuned for Clan Boss here. But the build is usable in some other places. So I think she features in some of my tag arena teams where I'm digging a little deeper into my box. But she's got a pretty nice kit. So she's defense based. So the defense up that Helicath places in Clan Boss gives her additional damage. She has a 2-hit A1. She hits pretty hard. And then the reason she's in this team is for this buff extend skill. Increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn, which makes this comp work. I've also built her with enough accuracy that she can decrease buff length, so any dungeons where I want that, it'll work. But the build is a pretty straightforward sort of damage-dealing defense-based champion build. So a decent amount of defense, a little more than 4,000, crit capped, 160% crit damage, which is higher than I have on a lot of my other champions, and then just hitting the right speed and accuracy targets here. So 177 makes her work in the Clan Boss team, so she's in both of the Clan Boss teams in this particular rotation. Mastery-wise, as you would expect, War Master here for the Clan Boss damage, and these don't actually really trigger in an unkillable team. Retribution and Deterrence give you some counterattack opportunities, but since accuracy wasn't particularly essential on her, a lot of the support tree would be wasted, so I just picked up some of these. They make her somewhat useful in other content, even though Clan Boss is the primary place where I use her. Kurzad Deep Heart. So he's one of the essential pieces of the Iron Twins build here. Because of this A1, it's if it criticals, then he places an extra hit that places 100% of the time a 30% decreased speed buff. So this is a really great speed down placer for Iron Twins, and he's an essential part of making the comp work. That said, although his kit has some useful stuff, guaranteed speed down, and AoE that fills his turn meter, and AoE increased accuracy on his party, those are things that would find some use occasionally. That said, he's really just in my dwarves team. I hadn't ever had an occasion to build him before this. I don't expect that I'll use him in a lot of other content, so he is tuned really exclusively for Iron Twins. That is the place where he shines. And so mastery-wise, I did just work on getting him at least up to this 1/6 level mastery for Eagle Eye. So I need him at 600 or more accuracy to be really, really sure that decreased speed lands, or else the Iron Twins comp falls apart. So that's exactly what I want. In this case, it works out pretty well because we don't want direct damage, so whereas War Master might be something you would want for a more general Kurzad build, this isn't a general Kurzad build. This is only tuned for Iron Twins, so focused exclusively on that. So again, all I really built in this team for him was hitting the right speed target, about 192 here, hitting as much accuracy as I can. So that's 589 before the Drexthar, before Drexthar's aura pushes that up to 650. So I actually overachieved what I was aiming for. I was only really aiming to have him at 530, and I think it was when I added Lore of Steel, it just made he's in double perception, single accuracy, and it just added a significant boost to that. Again, he also needs to be able to tank that first hit. I did not really build him for tankiness. I used Demytha's shield set to make him tanky enough. Finally, we have Frozen Banshee. She's the last slot here. So Frozen Banshee I've had for a while and used her in my clan boss team when I need to hit the quest, the occasional advanced quest for using a rare against clan boss. So she's a pretty good alternative. I had her at the same speed as Urticata, so I would swap her and Urticata in some of the clan boss teams. Also, Urticata, because of the way her poison works particularly badly when she's off affinity. So against magic affinity, her damage dropped off pretty significantly. So I'd sometimes put Frozen Banshee in for that instead. Rebuilt her today to focus really just on Iron Twins. So she's also a usable DPS in clan boss. She's not focused on anything really beyond those two places, where her job is just placing a lot of poison. So really high amount of accuracy here again. So I got her to 470, which will be 540 after accounting for Drexthar's aura, and she'll pick up a little extra from some of these masteries like Charge Focus at certain points in time. As with Kurzad, I built her with Eagle Eye here. So this is one part of the build that I'm regretting a little bit. Since she's also in Clan Boss, obviously in Clan Boss, War Master would do better. You can see I started doing this. I haven't reset her yet. If I'm focusing on the Iron Twins build, I'd give her defense and support probably if I'm taking that Eagle Eye. If I'm focusing on Clan Boss, I would take offense and support and take her down to War Master. So this is a place where I really had to make a decision of what I wanted to prioritize. In Iron Twins, you want to avoid that direct damage, so War Master is not an ideal mastery for her. But that just means she's less good at her job in Clan Boss. So far, it looks like my Clan Boss team is overachieving on damage, and I can hit my key targets without her being a top-tier DPS. But since she's not flexible in a lot of other content, I may end up just specializing her only for that Iron Twins team and finding someone else that I can use in Clan Boss. Or alternatively, honestly, Poison doesn't do a ton of damage against Iron Twins. You really get the damage from Brimstone more than anything else. And so I may just swap her out for someone else that just hits the speed target and stays alive in Iron Twins and focus her exclusively on Clan Boss. So while today I picked it up so that she can run in multiple teams, that's not necessarily a goal that I'm going to stick with for later, because making her shine in both places at the same time is a little bit difficult. But stat-wise, for Clan Boss, I tried to get her to crit capped. Because of the accuracy target, she's a little lower than is ideal, but high accuracy for Iron Twins, close to high crit rate, attack and crit damage and things like that, so she places a decent amount of direct damage in Clan Boss, as well as I really prioritize getting this retaliation set on her. In Clan Boss in particular, that helps a lot for placing additional poison. She only places this poison when her poison sensitivity is out, which makes it a little less effective in Iron Twins, because that periodic cleanse can get rid of the poison sensitivity, and it won't show up again until she cycles back around to this skill. But in Clan Boss, having extra places of this A1 poison from Retaliation set really ups her damage, helps keep that debuff bar full of poisons, and makes her quite effective in that. So that's it for how I built all the champions. Let's see them in action. So here we have Iron Twins 15. If you want to see the AI setup for that, go to Deadwood Jedi's video that showed this comp in the first place. But let's see how they do. So you can see there that that first hit took a decent chunk out of Kurzad and Frozen Banshee. But the shield set from Demytha helped them tank that. And there, into that first turn, we get the block damage up, and we're block damage for the whole rest of the fight. And this brilliant comp from Deadwood Jedi, we've got Kurzad going at the top or close to the top of every round to place that decreased speed. So even if it gets cleansed by the retaliatory strike, he puts it on fast enough that it doesn't ever throw the comp out of sync. But so far, since getting to these final speed values, everyone about 170 to 190, other than Helicath, it has been working beautifully. Brimstone, as usual, does most of the damage here, but we get a decent amount out of the consistent burn from Drexthar and a fair amount of poison from Frozen Banshee as well. So there it is, a beautiful composition by Deadwood Jedi. So thanks, Deadwood Jedi, for coming up with that particular build. You can see here, let's see, let me move my camera a second. So yeah, Brimstone did the heavy lifting. We got 3 million damage out of Helicath, but another million out of Drexthar and a few 100,000 out of Frozen Banshee. So yeah, the burn did a decent amount, and once I can get Brimstone onto Drexthar, that's going to be a nice improvement, and should keep basically 100% uptime on that smite debuff, which will help drop it that much faster. So that's how it works on Iron Twins. I am obsessed with the fact that this is full auto, because my previous team, I was spending an awful lot of time just kicking it off. It was a pretty long first couple of rounds that I was doing 6 times a day, and the fact that I can just set it and forget it, do a multi-battle on this one, and knock out 6 in a row at a time of 550. Oh, looks like this is my best time ever just now. Is pretty amazing. Let's move on and show you Clan Boss. Alright, so here's that Clan Boss team that I had built. So we've got Sandlashed Survivor giving us the aura here, defense aura, Duchess in front of Helicath, which is really important here to make sure that she always takes the stun, Geomancer and Urticata for damage. We will zip through this one. I'm going to cut out the middle of this because if you've seen one Unkillable Clan Boss run, you've seen them all. But the thing I love is that this one is also full auto. So AI-wise, Duchess and Sandlashed Survivor need to prioritize that A2, but do delay it by 1 turn. So use the A1 just once at the beginning. Helicath just goes straight into using his block damage, and you do whatever makes sense for you on the DPS. So full auto, set it and forget it. This one jumps right in, and my clan drew Spirit Affinity on both of these today. Spirit Affinity is definitely the one where this one performs the best. So the damage number is going to look particularly nice here, but I have been consistently getting 2 key Ultra Nightmare and 1 key Nightmare from teams like this. So let's see here. We see the first round go through. We'll cut out the middle and jump straight to the end here. All right, we're closing in on the end of the run here. Duchess continues to take all the stuns like a champ. So we're closing in on the last stun before we get knocked over here. You can see we're already well into 2 key territory for Ultra Nightmare. The target's 35 million. We're 7 over that already. We're probably going to end up about 10 million over target. So this is a very comfortable 2 key Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss team. There we go, 44 and a half. So not a bad Ultra Nightmare run. You can see more than 10 million each from Helicath, Geomancer, Urticata. So really, really solid damage stats from all of those. All right, let's jump and see the team in Nightmare. All right, here's the Nightmare team. So the only swap here is we need to swap Urticata for someone just a little bit slower. So I'm Frozen Banshee in that slot. The AI is mostly the same, although it needs a manual start. So nothing too interesting there, but it takes a couple manual clicks to get going. All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 3, 1. And then 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1. And we're off to the races. So not a bad manual start, and since it's one key, I only need to do this one once a day. So with all the other teams there being full auto, this is a pretty good overall set for these three things. Once again, you've seen almost this exact team. We're just going to jump straight to the end here. All right, here we go. Just about to die. Oh, and look at that. 3 of them actually make it through the very last hit. Good work from Sandlashed Survivor with the Ally Protect. Getting a couple extra hits after turn 50. There we go, 49.8. So again, this is very comfortably above target. So even though Spirit Affinities is a really good one for us, Geomancer is going to underperform in Void. Frozen Banshee is going to underperform in Force, but probably not by a whole 9 million for either of those. So this team is pretty solid against all the affinities here, and it's definitely affinity friendly in terms of never catching debuffs that are problematic. So that's it. That's my swing team, making maximum use of Helicath and trying to make use of all my other good champions with builds that are effective for other content. Hope you liked it. If you're looking for the build details on this, my previous video, I'll throw a link up here, has the specific speed values and the AI setup that you want to use on these. But there it is in action. Works just like planned. Hope you liked it. We'll see you next time. JG out.